Most people in the quiet village of Elmbrook knew Grandma Mabel as the lady with the loud rooster and a garden that bloomed even in drought. She wasn't rich, didn't have fancy tools or high tech gadgets, but she had something better: patience, passion, and a stubborn heart. But even her closest neighbors weren't prepared for what happened that one unforgettable autumn. The year Grandma Mabel grew a 3-meter tall pumpkin that shocked the entire town and the internet. The seed of an idea. It all started in late winter when the world was still gray and the garden was sleeping under a blanket of frost. Mabel was sipping her chamomile tea and flipping through an old gardening magazine when an ad caught her eye. Grow the world's biggest pumpkin. Champion seeds available now. She chuckled at first. Marketing nonsense. But something about the picture, a man standing next to a pumpkin the size of a car, planted a thought in her head. The next day, she ordered a pack of Titan pumpkin seeds. They arrived in a golden envelope with bold instructions and a warning. Requires extreme care, space, and dedication. Most people would have laughed and moved on, but not Mabel. She looked out her kitchen window at the empty patch of garden and said, "I've raised 6 kids, 3 goats, and 1 very difficult husband. I think I can handle a seed." The work begins. In early spring, she chose the sunniest, richest corner of her garden. She composted for weeks: banana peels, coffee grounds, eggshells, and even crushed seashells from her last trip to the beach. She built a custom greenhouse box using old windows and wood from her shed. She watered the soil every morning at 6 a.m., talking softly to the seedling like it was a baby. "Good morning, my little mountain-to-be," she'd whisper. And slowly it grew. Day by day, week by week, the little sprout turned into a vine, and the vine turned into a beast. It spread like wildfire, climbing over fences and crawling across paths. She trimmed it carefully, measuring every inch of a growth in a notebook she called her pumpkin log. When the first flower bloomed, she was there with a soft brush to hand pollinate it, just to be sure. And when the tiny pumpkin started forming, she cleared the area around it, built a support frame, and even laid down a mattress underneath to prevent rot. Neighbors came by and stared. "What on earth are you feeding it, Mabel? Miracle-Gro and moonlight?" "Love," she'd say, "and a bit of fish emulsion." Setbacks and sacrifices. Of course, it wasn't easy. A storm hit in June, knocking out part of her greenhouse. She was out in the rain with a tarp and nails, defending the pumpkin like a soldier under fire. Then came the squirrels, sneaky, clever little thieves. She built a net cage and left apples as decoys. "Don't test me," she muttered, shaking a stick in their direction. She skipped social events, missed 3 bingo nights. She even postponed her birthday just to monitor the pumpkin's growth curve. "You're obsessed," her daughter said on the phone. "No, honey, I'm focused." The reveal: by early October, the pumpkin was no longer just a vegetable. It was a monument. Orange, round, and impossibly tall, it stood like a boulder in the garden. Mabel had to climb a stepladder just to brush dirt off the top. One morning, she stepped back, hands on her hips, and gasped. The measuring tape didn't lie. 3 whole meters. She dropped the tape and laughed until she cried. The next day, she invited her grandchildren over. When they saw the pumpkin, their jaws dropped. "Grandma, it's huge. It's like a spaceship." The photos went online. Then the news came. Then a pumpkin contest official showed up with a clipboard and disbelief in his eyes. Going viral within days, Grandma Mabel became an internet sensation. Pumpkin Queen of Elmbrook, they called her. A local bakery named a pie after her. Someone painted a mural of her riding the pumpkin like a horse. But for Mabel, it wasn't about the fame. It was about proving something to herself. Everyone thinks old folks slow down after 70, she said in an interview. But growth doesn't stop just because your back hurts or your hair turns white. We all have one more miracle left, even if it takes manure and mulch to make it happen. The reward? With the prize money from the competition and a generous offer from a gardening equipment company, she finally bought herself something she had dreamed of since she was 25, a mint green convertible, vintage style, white seats, top down. She parked it right next to the pumpkin. The first time she drove it through town, scarf blowing in the wind, one hand on the wheel and the other holding an ice cream cone, everyone stopped to wave, and she waved back, laughing like a teenager. Epilogue. The giant pumpkin eventually rotted, as all legends do, but Mabel kept the seeds. She dried them, labeled them, and stored them in glass jars.